right, it's 10. We're going to start. Good morning for you all you wonderful people who got up way too early on a Sunday to hear me, of all things. I don't know what you were thinking. I am your friendly neighborhood sign guy. You may have seen me wandering around with the big happy sign. It's what I do. We're going to talk about robots and things. I've read some books. I know a thing or two. We're going to see what happens. So first, we're all friends, but we need some quick point of orders. First, we're not going to nitpick what is and is not a robot. Well, that's a cyborg. Well, no, that's a sense that no. For us, for purposes of this next hour, because I'm the panelist and I said so, robots includes everything: robots, replicants, droids, mechas, androids, metavirons, synths, bots, Cylons, Terminators, cyborgs, sentient computers, machines, AI, etc., etc., etc. Point being, they all go beep. They're all robots. Don't be that guy. Why I insist on this will become clear here pretty shortly. Next, what we're going to talk about here is our history of robots and kind of where these have gone through, the different stages, starting with, oh my God, robots are going to kill us all. Then it's going to move into, robots will not kill us all. Please stop saying that. Please. Robots as civil rights allegories, because even if you think, oh yeah, this is a big part of robot stories, you don't know how big a part of robot stories this is. And then we get into some of the weirder stuff. Things that blend, they will kill us all and they won't kill us all. Usually it's two different robots and we're directly contrasting them. Sometimes it's not. Killbots who evolve over the course of their particular arc. The original Star Trek episode, I Mud, because that one's weird enough and unique enough it deserves its own mention. And finally, where does the genre go from here? Where is there new ground to break? Because boy howdy is there new ground to break. And this slide is long, wordy, and boring, and there's no fun pictures, so here's a picture of my dog. You're welcome. He's a turd. So starting with robots will kill us all. So this starts with a 1921 Czech stage play, Rossumovi Univerzalni Roboti, a.k.a. Rossum's Universal Robots, a.k.a. Ruhr. This was written by a gentleman named Karl Čapek, that's this guy, and premiered January 2nd, 1921 in the town of Hradec Králové, which is about here, if you're on the off chance you're not all up on your Czech geography. So the plot summary here, first, this is where the word robot comes from. It came from the name in that title. And our plot summary is old Rossum, he doesn't get a name, he's just old Rossum and his son is young Rossum, figures out how to make artificial humans. They're going to do all labor for us. Humanity won't have to toil anymore. This is going to be great. Shocking, the robots rebel and they kill all humans. Who could have possibly seen this coming? One man gets left alive, the construction head at the factory, because he, and I quote, worked with his hands like a robot. If this sounds like a certain political view propaganda, yes, hold that thought. And then they ask the man, like, hey man, how to make us was lost in the revolution. Please make more of us. Figure out how to do this before we all die out. If this plot sounds just a little familiar to anyone in this room, it's because I basically described the plot to every robot thing you've ever seen in your life. Frankly, these are all just different variants on Ruhr. Well, let's talk about the themes of Ruhr that come through all of these. First is fear of the unknown. Industrialization is new, robots are different, that's scary. Things aren't going to be the way they were anymore, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And more specifically here, fear of science going too far. And that great line you may have heard at various points in your life, there are some things mankind was not meant to know. Which sounds really pedantic and stupid and preachy, because generally it is, but let's cut Mr. Čapek some slack here. Let's remember when this was written. 1921, we were just over 2 years after the end of World War I. When I think we can all agree science may have gone a little too far, we may have learned some stuff we were better off not knowing, like machine guns, mustard gas, and firebombing, and other great things. There's a little more to it than that. Is anyone here not from the United States? Anyone here from overseas? Okay. So we all had an American education. Shocking, we're in America. And when we learned about World War I, we learned the American perspective, because that's how this works. You learn your people's perspective. Where we fought the war, and then on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918, the guns fell silent, the troops came home, we had a parade. Now we're into the 1920s, and we all had to read Great Gatsby in high school. Great. That's what happened on the Western Front. That is not what happened on the Eastern Front. as all the big multi-ethnic empires just dissolved into anarchy, civil wars, and ethnic cleansings. At the time Ruhr premiered in the Czech Republic, the Finnish Civil War had just wrapped up, the Hungarian-Romanian War over Transylvania had just wrapped up, Italy had just started coming out of their complete social collapse that would eventually lead to Mussolini. Czechoslovakia had just finished border skirmishes with Poland and Hungary. The Russian Civil War was still going on, the Polish-Soviet War was still going on, and the Greco-Turkish War was still going on, where those two are just genociding each other left and right in Western Anatolia. Anyone here played Last Train Home? Fantastic game that just came out a couple months ago about the Czechoslovak Legion trying to get out of Siberia. Well, that wrapped up. You had about 50,000 Czechs and Slovakians in Russia fighting in the Russian Civil War, trying to get a port to get home and get out of there. And the last ship left Vladivostok 4 months before this play premiered. Things were a little crazy, and the idea that, hey, technology may in fact be the death of us all is a bit more telling at this point in history, and it resonated rather strongly. The other enduring trend here is that you'll see again is, what does it mean to be human? The robots in Ruhr are made from artificial flesh, and they're assembled in a factory. First, this is why I was so insistent at the beginning that they're all robots, deal with it. Like, the original robots, where the word robot came from, are not made of metal. They're made of organic material. To the point that in the first scene, a lady there who's there representing the League of Humanity advocating for rights for robots meets her first robot and mistakes it for a human and doesn't understand, what do you mean you're from here? Like, yeah, you work here at the factory, but you're not from here. Like, no, lady, I am. I rolled off that assembly line back there. And by the end of it, it's that last human trying to recreate the way to make robots is talking to the two most advanced, most sophisticated robots, the man and woman, and gives them a test like, okay, if I'm going to make more of you, I got to chop one of you up to figure out how you work and make this work. So which one of you two is going to be? And both of them say, no, take me, let my love live. And the last human on Earth dubs them the new Adam and Eve, the proper successors to humanity. This trend of where is the dividing line between human and not human is going to keep going through robot stuff. Oh, and sorry, one that I forgot to mention, shame on me, I'm bad at my job. There's a fantastic exchange in the second act there where the League of Humanity representative asked the adorably naive question, well, why can't you give the robots souls? Then they can just be full people. To which the engineer says, it's not in our power. Like, I can't do that. The businessman says, that's not in the company's interest. And the accountant says, well, that would impact profits. We have fun here. We like to have fun. So Ruhr obviously did not just spring from the ether full form with nothing that went before it. Artificial humans have been a thing for a long, 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 long time. The first recorded mention is Talos in Greek myth, first written accounts about 400 BC. Giant man made of brass who's just an automaton that goes around and kills things for the gods. And shows up in Jason and the Argonauts. This is from the very hokey 1960s movie of it. The next one we'll talk about here is the Golem of Prague. For those not familiar with this particular story, this is a legend in the Jewish quarter of Prague that they made an artificial man from clay that was brought to life by the word of God to protect the Jews from persecution. It got out of control and smashed a lot of the city before they managed to shut it down. In theory, it was disassembled and its parts were stored in the attic of the delightfully named Old New Synagogue in Prague. Now, I'm not saying that can't have happened. I'm just saying I didn't see it when I went in there. And if you think this is just an excuse to show my cool vacation photos, no, that's what the question slide is for. Other interesting note here, you notice how this kind of, leads into Ruhr of, hey, it's the Czech guy talking about machines that get out of control and smash stuff. The other fun one here is during the Middle Ages, Prague was a hub of alchemy. You're welcome. And one of the key things the alchemists of Prague were trying to do is create homunculi, which were small, artificially created humans. Are we seeing a trend here in Central European mythology and lore? The next one that we're all very familiar with here is my friend Dr. Frankenstein and his monster. Who here has actually read the actual Mary Shelley Frankenstein? Okay, for those who have only seen the movies or just know of it, there is a key thing in the book that doesn't really translate to any of the adaptations of media, which is the monster's goal is, hey man, I'm the only one of my kind, I am lonely, I want a wife. And then Dr. Frankenstein starts building the wife, and then he has a realization of, wait a minute, this thing's stronger than humans, it's faster than humans, it's tougher than humans, it's at least as smart, if not smarter than humans. If I give him a wife, and they have kids, and they proliferate, they will outcompete us and destroy humanity and take over the world. I done goofed. Whoops. Again, back to Roar, the robots, if they can reproduce themselves, are just going to take over. Now, key thing here. Some of you may have heard a rumor on the internet that I'm going to dispel now, because I hate stupid rumors, that there is a connection between the Golem of Prague and the Alchemist of Prague and Frankenstein and his monster. The way this goes is a couple years before Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, she was on a tour of the Rhine River and stopped in a town of Gershom, which is about 10 miles from Castle Frankenstein. Ostensibly, this is where the name Frankenstein came from. Also, ostensibly, well, this part's not ostensibly, Castle Frankenstein was the home to alchemists about 100 years before Mary Shelley. And ostensibly, well, what if those alchemists were in touch with the alchemists of Prague? And what if they shared stories about making the homunculi and the Golem of Prague? And what if records of those exchanges survived? And what if either she visited the castle or they made it to the townspeople and those were relayed to her? And what if that part led to the inspiration for Frankenstein? I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying that's a lot of what ifs. 10 miles is a really long distance when you're on a horse and carriage. They were only in the town for a couple hours, and her diary makes zero mention of any of this, including Castle Frankenstein itself and the name. So probably not. And I did this in the wrong words. There's Frankenstein's bride. My bad. I'm bad at my job. So we're going to use Frankenstein in transition here to my man Isaac Asimov, because he loved the term Frankenstein complex. Moving into robots will not kill us all. By the way, remember, never share sensitive data on the internet. You're welcome for that pun. So, Isaac Asimov, fantastic writer, and his philosophy was basically this. This is how people kind of view robots. Yeah. So, Asimov is the undisputed king of robot fiction. If you've read a thing about robots, it's either Asimov or derived from Asimov. It was 5 novels, various collections of short stories. I say various because it depends how you slice it. A lot of the short stories are the same in different collections, and it's just different slices of the whole. And a lot of connected works. He had a whole big connected universe of a lot of his works that tie into the robot verse. And the first robot thing he ever wrote was a short story called Robbie, which was a direct challenge to, oh my God, robots will kill us all. It's about a little girl who has a robot nursemaid named Robbie that she loves and wants to play with. That's it. That's the story. Just a happy little thing. Unfortunately, my friend Robbie can't be here today because I was going to have a picture of him and make jokes about how the robot Robbie can't talk and the human Robbie never shuts up, but schedule conflicts. Also, Asimov's where the 3 laws of robotics come from. No, read the whole thing, just understand there's 3 laws of robotics. This is going to come up later. Robots can't kill people, robots have to obey people unless it would hurt people, and robots have to protect themselves unless it conflicts with one of the other 2. So Asimov, again, was working a direct rejection of there are some things mankind was not meant to know. He has a fantastic quote here that I'm going to break all PowerPoint protocols and read a slide to you. Deal with it. Quote, I could not bring myself to believe that if knowledge presented danger, the solution was ignorance. To me, it always seemed that the solution had to be wisdom. Cars are dangerous. They're big, they're fast, they're heavy. If you don't know how to use, you're going to run people over and kill them. That's bad. The solution isn't get rid of cars. The solution is learn how to drive a car. Like, yeah, robots are dangerous. Learn how to manage robots. Anything powerful is dangerous. This other big trend here is robots as peers. These gentlemen here are Elijah Bailey on the right, a nondescript robot that doesn't have a name in the middle, and then our robot, Daniel Oliva, on the left, the main characters of his robot novels, and their relationship as it evolves across them. Key notes here in God, I want to say it's Naked Son. It's either the second or third book when they run into each other again and they shake hands and Elijah's all happy to see Daniel. And Daniel also says, it gives me great pleasure to see you again, partner Elijah. And Elijah says, like, hey man, I appreciate the sentiment, but you're a robot. Can you feel pleasure at seeing me? And Daniel's response, to paraphrase, is, I'm not a human. I can't know what you feel. But when I'm around you, my thoughts are more organized and flow more freely, and I'm less aware of other stimuli on my body. And I presume that this is analogous to what humans experience when they say they feel pleasure. So yes, the robot can feel emotions and feels friendship. Other ones that we have here, and this also ties into the what does it mean to be human, with the close link between how Daniel acts and how Elijah acts and kind of contrasting them. This also ties in this gentleman, Stephen Brierley, who is a robot who looks like a human, who gets himself elected king of the world. World coordinator. To run the world better, because again, the 3 laws. His job is to protect humans. And if he can get himself in power, he can better protect humans and manage how we do things, get us to stop freaking killing each other. You also have Andrew Martin. This is from the Robert Williams adaptation, Bicentennial Man. Asimov is on the record saying Bicentennial Man is his favorite thing he ever wrote. It's about a robot who wants to be a human, Pinocchio style. And over the course of 200 years, slowly his programming evolves and he develops and becomes more and more human and eventually becomes indistinguishable from a human and then gets to die happy. Lenny is an 8-foot-tall, titanium-built construction bot who had a little whoopsie-doodle in his programming and has the mind of about a 4-month-old baby. And Susan Calvin, the robo-psychologist of U.S. Robots and Mechanical Men, who does not like people in the slightest and doesn't want to deal with them, says, I'm going to adopt this robot. He's going to be my baby. Deal with it. And finally, there's an unnamed robot in Robot Visions, the titular short story of the collected works Robot Visions, who gets catapulted into the future to go see, hey, like Cold War writing, but it makes sense now as well. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it, guys. Send the robot forward. Let's see if anything survives. And gets to the future. And yes, humanity survived. They're robots. They're humaniform robots who are indistinguishable from human beings. If you ever saw the movie AI, that's where that came from. So other things that we derive from Asimov here. First, shocking data. Who didn't see this one coming? Like Star Trek just flat out says, he's an Asimov robot. Dr. Soong wanted to recreate Asimov's positronic brain. And his journey through discovering what it means to be human. He's Andrew Martin with a scoop of our Daniel thrown in. If you've played Detroit Become Human, Anderson and Connor are Daniel and Elijah. It's who they are. So it may seem a little funny. Who remembers the first Resident Evil movie in The Red Queen? Yeah! Where the trailer is, oh my god, the Red Queen went nuts, she's going to kill us all. And the first act is, oh my god, the Red Queen went nuts, she's going to kill us all. And the lead in is, oh my god, the Red Queen went nuts, she's going to kill us all. And then they try to shut her down, and she pops out and like, what are you idiots doing? Well, you went nuts and you killed everyone. Yes. You told me to contain outbreaks. There was an outbreak, I contained it. I killed everyone who was infected so they couldn't get out and kill the rest of you because it was the only tool I had. I did what you told me to do. What do you people want from me? It is a fantastic inversion of robots are going to kill us all. It's like, no, she didn't go crazy. She didn't break. She didn't misinterpret programming. She did exactly what her job was. But humans got scared and said, oh my god, the robot went nuts. Aliens movie, Bishop, Ripley's just hatred for him and fear of him and him proving his, for lack of a better term, humanity and his reliability. Again, very Asimov. Final one here may seem a little odd. Titanfall 2. Anyone who's played it is currently saying, wait, those are killbots. This is the not killbots section. Are you nut? Dude, what are you talking about? Go with me on this. Those 3 protocols there, they kind of look a lot like the 3 laws of robotics that got tweaked around to support a killbot, don't they? And especially if you play through it and you get to the end of that campaign, it's, you get kind of attached to your robo-puppy. And for those keeping score, yes, that is a JoJo reference. Exactly. It's not at least one JoJo reference, it's not a real presentation. So moving on now, robots as civil rights allegories. Again, even if you think you understand how big a part of this is, oh, buckle up. So first, it's best known nowadays from Detroit Become Human. It was kind of on the nose. We ain't seen nothing yet. Robot stories have always been civil rights allegories. What do you mean by always, sign guy? Well, the word robot, as we discussed at the beginning, comes from roboti in the title Rossumovi univerzalny roboti. Where does roboti come from? Roboti is a derivative of the Czech word robota. Okay, great. What does robota mean? Robota, translated literally to English, means forced labor. I'm just saying. Let's go back to my man Asimov. He knew what was up. So, in his various novels and various short story collections here, written primarily 1950s and 60s, height of Jim Crow, the robots are the manual labor. They do the grunt work. They don't get to do anything fun. They don't get to do anything sophisticated. There are sundown towns mentioned. Robots, it is legislated, are not allowed outside at night. Who knows what those things would do if we let them out unsupervised at night, and are eventually banned from the surface of Earth altogether. There are also points when angry mobs of humans, fearing the robots are coming to take their gerbs, are going to smash them up, and because of that pesky first law thing, there's nothing the robots can do. They can't fight back. They cannot harm human beings. They just have to hope that the authorities will protect them. They have no other recourse. There is a fantastic short story about a robot who can dream. Not supposed to be able to do that. Some weird things were done to his program without authorization. And he dreams he's Moses, looking on the toiling robot saying, "Let my people go." There's the wonderfully titled short story Segregationist, about a robot surgeon who's working on a human patient who wants an artificial titanium heart. The robot doesn't understand this. The robot likes himself just the way he is, would not change a thing about himself, does not understand why this human can't feel good about himself the way he is and wants to become more roboticized. Why can't we just be happy who we are and not try to fight and be something different? Equally delightfully titled Galley Slave, the first robot used in academia as a proofreader, reading galley prints, who is set up as the fall guy in an academic scheme to try to say, see, you can't trust these robots in white-collar jobs. They need to go back where they belong in the gutters and not do sophisticated work. Shocking the robots win, but that's the setup there. Finally, very, very key plot point in Robots of Dawn and Robots in Empire, the last two full robot novels, is that Daniel, as we saw, looks human, and this other gentleman you see here, Giscard, looks like a robot. They're about equal in capability. They're both very intelligent, they're very capable. Everyone assumes Daniel must necessarily be the smarter and more capable because Daniel looks human and Giscard doesn't. That's a clutch plot point. It's not some, oh, by the way, mention. Like, that's one of the hinges upon which the narrative goes. That everyone assumes, well, of course the one that looks like me is smarter, and the one that looks different is not. Duh. And find out, oh, wait, that's not the case. Giscard is just as smart and capable and has been playing everyone for fools because they all underestimate him. Also, in The Naked Sun, the second novel, they kind of pound the drum on the planet Stellaria, where there's about a couple thousand humans and somewhere in the hundreds of thousands of robots. It's just like Sparta with all the helots. If you read your Greek history, Spartans became really good warriors to prevent slave revolts. Monopoly on violence, what keeps governments going. And this is a comparison here. Well, it's like that, except the slaves can't revolt. They're robots. They've got the first law. We can keep them enslaved forever. Yeah, great. That's not the big one, though. The big one here is that in all of these novels, and all these short stories, and all these collections, again, written in the 1950s, height of Jim Crow America, the robots are exclusively referred to as, hey, you boy. Just saying, Asimov knew what was up. Now, other examples that come after Asimov that we're all familiar with here, again, Detroit Become Human. Came out a few years ago, we all know that one. Solo, in particular, hit this point pretty hard with, the robot rights, but you look through Star Wars, it's pretty much always been, droids are an analogy for slaves. Go back to episode 4. They go in the cantina, and the first thing the barman says is, we don't want their kind in here. It's always been there. Again, AI, the flesh fare, that's just a lynch mob with some gussying up. Futurama episode, Proposition Infinity, where robosexual marriage is definitely not an analog for homosexual marriage. I don't know what you're talking about. Star Trek Voyager episode, Author, where the Doctor, who is a hologram, writes a novel and gets a publisher. Then the publisher says, "We don't got to pay you. You're a hologram. You're not a person. You don't have ownership rights. Piss off." And that has to go through the court system. Star Trek The Next Generation episodes, The Quality of Life and Evolution, 2 separate episodes, different seasons, pretty much the same plot line, of we have these little bots that aren't meant to be sentient. They're not supposed to be data. They're just supposed to be, robots like we have building cars now. Except they become sentient. It's like, dude, they're sentient. No, they're not. Yeah, they are. No, they're not. They were not built to be sentient. Cool, they are. We can't just send them to die. And finally, Measure of a Man, one of the all-time best Star Trek episodes, not just of Next Generation, but all time. So there's an early episode in there where Star Trek says, hey, we want to figure out how to make more of Data, but we got to chop him up to do it. And Data says, well, I don't want to be disassembled. And Starfleet says, well, we don't care. You're a robot. You're not a person. You don't have rights. You don't get to say no. And Picard has to go take this to trial to establish Data's rights. And I can't really do justice to this episode on my own, so I'm going to need an assist here from Guinan.
Consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures. They do the dirty work. They do the work that no one else wants to do because it's too difficult or too hazardous. And an army of Data's all disposable. You don't have to think about their welfare. You don't think about how they feel. Whole generations of disposable people.
He's talking about slavery.
I think that's a little harsh.
I don't think that's a little harsh. I think that's the truth. But that's a truth that we have obscured behind a comfortable, easy euphemism. Property. But that's not the issue at all, is it?
Yeah, Star Trek knew what was up. So I think I've hammered this point enough, and this is a really depressing note to transition on, so here's more pictures of Frodo. You're welcome. God, he's such a turd. All right, now let's get into the weird stuff. And who didn't honestly think when I said one of the subjects is the weird stuff that it wasn't going to be Nier Automata? Let's be real. So our first thing here is things that blend the first two. The robots will kill us all, and the no robots won't kill us all, please stop saying that. First and foremost, Mass Effect. The Reapers are here to kill us all, and the Reapers are saying, dude, all AI is just going to kill all organic life. It's what we did. Clearly, it's what all of them are going to do. Meanwhile, Edie's running around, and she just wants to jump Joker's bones. She doesn't care about anything else. Whatever. It's never really, built on by BioWare, but, it's, you look, it's there. It's like, guys, there's... No, the Reapers are just doing what every other race in Mass Effect does. Assume, well, of course, everything's like us. The Matrix. We killed all humans, and we enslaved them all. Cool. Then you have the Oracle, who wants a new balance. She's not fighting for humans. She's part of the system. She just wants a more sustainable model here, and is willing to help. And you have the keep humans enslaved part, and the... Guys, this isn't going to work long term. We need to find a different way here. And their fight between that and how this all ends up working out. Fun one here, Futurama. My man Bender Bending Rodriguez. What does Bender always say? Kill all humans? Remember, in Decision 3012, you go into the future, Bender did in fact kill all humans. He led the robot uprising that destroyed humanity in the, not Terminator fight. He did it. Good job. Why did he finally do it, we ask? What made him do it then and not before? Well, he had Fry. If you pay attention, Fry is the only thing keeping from Bender from destroying all humanity. In the episode The Sting, Bender admits that when he says destroy all humans, he always mutters under his breath except one, and Fry is that one. Yes, it's in a dream sequence, but come on, man. The authors put that in there for a reason. And it's just his relationship here with Fry is what keeps him grounded. Again, back to what does it mean to actually be human, this relationship between a robot and a meatbag. We also have the Robot Planet from the first season who want to go kill all humans. Why? Well, because our incompetent leaders need a scapegoat. So, humans, why not? And they figure out humans are on their side and everyone's hunky-dory forever. Let's not forget Santabot. Yep. He was programmed to judge everyone nice or naughty, but we made little whoops in the code and he judges everyone naughty. Except Zoidberg, and that's why we like Robot Satan. God bless Zoidberg. So then a weird three-way one here. I have no mouth and I must scream. Robot takes over the world. Kills all humans, keeps 5 alive to torture because it has nothing else to do with its time and it's bored. Horizon Zero Dawn. Robot takes over the world. Kind of kills all humans, but like accidentally. It wasn't setting out to exterminate humans. It was going to bioform and terraform Earth. And humans were just there and it didn't notice, and now it just is making robot dinosaurs. Right. And then, finally, final short story in iRobot, The Inevitable Conflict. The robots have taken over the world, and they're taking care of us. It's 3 very different ways of looking at what happens if the robots actually take over. From, they're gonna exterminate us all because, oh my god, apocalypse, they don't really care about us, they're just doing their own thing, and we happen to, be in the way. And then they take over and they're going to stay in power. Like, it's a peaceful conquest, let's be real. Inevitable conflict, it's a conquest. Because the robots know, by first law, they have to take care of people. And if they're in charge, they'll do the best job possible taking care of people. And the humans come to this realization and are like, well, what can we do about it? Well, nothing. So if we try to do anything, the robots are going to notice, and they're not going to kill anyone, but they will find a way to subtly discredit us so no one will listen and maintain their grip on it. And they have examples of like, yeah, this guy who said the robots are stupid, I want to run my company my way, and the robots arranged for that company to fail. And so now he's out of power and not a threat. So what do? Trust the robots and hope? It's very different ways of looking at what's going to happen as robots take over. It's a very interesting contrast. Into then Killbots Who Evolve. For all the people like me in the room who are old, you may recognize Johnny 5, Short Circuit. Robot gets hit by lightning, or Killbot specifically gets hit by lightning. Killbot doesn't want to be a Killbot anymore. He likes nice software. You may also, if you like bad mid-2000s action movies, you may recognize this as the plot of Stealth. If so, I'm sorry. Iron Giant. He's Killbot. He is here to destroy everything forever, but he bonks his noggin, and now he just wants to hang out with Hogarth and be Superman. It's an interesting evolution. If you remember the last Bastion trailer for Overwatch, Bastion was in fact a Killbot. He killed a lot of people in the Omnic Rising. And then he got shut down, now he reawakens, and boy howdy does he have PTSD. He just wants to be left alone with his bird friend. So naturally, you can play him as part of Overwatch and go kill everyone forever, because that makes sense. Blizzard used to be so good at these things, and things happen. But yeah, if he was a Killbot, and like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to relax. Like, leave me alone. Let me live my life. Next, let's talk about Big Daddy. Oh yeah. On the surface, it's a very straightforward, Killbot versus Killbot, lots of explosions, lots of, like, what would come to be known as Michael Bay-ness stuff. Yes, I know he wasn't the director, but there's a lot of big explosions, especially shooting up all the cop cars. And just lots of destructions, lots of fights, lots of action. But underneath that, if you pay attention, also if you watch the extended edition, because editors suck, there is a fantastic arc of the Terminator learning to be human. Starting from John Connor telling him you can't kill people. Why? I'm a Terminator. Because I said so. And just following all the commands very literally and not deviating from exactly what John says. To learning to interpret and be more organic and be more personable. John teaching him to use slang. Towards at the end, he's actually using it pretty proficiently. Part where John tries to teach him, this one I know is only extended edition, teaching him how to smile. And Arnold, to his credit, does a great job of keeping his face perfect, where the mouth goes up, the very sinister top half stays the same, and it just looks really creepy and disconcerting. He's trying to learn to be human. And then most of the way through, when Sarah Connor goes to kill Miles Dyson, comes to the conclusion she is safe to go die doing this mission because the Terminator, the Killbot, is the best guardian available for her son. John will be safe and cared for because the Killbot's got this. He is human enough to take care of this, and better, in fact, more human than any human who could do the job. And finally, the very end, when the Terminator is about to suicide himself, and that parting line, I now know why you cry. There is a great arc buried in this movie of showing a Killbot evolving to be more human. And then transitioning from Big Daddy to Big Mama. Who has not had the joy of playing Nier Automata? Oh boy, howdy. So, it looks like this. The plotline is as anime as this implies. Androids fighting robots on a destroyed Earth. The combat mechanics are chef's kiss immaculate. 2B, the one in the center there, who you've probably seen a lot of around this con, is an absolute blender with those swords and destroys everything forever, and it's wonderful. Under the hood, this game will destroy you. First, there's fantastic contrast here. 2B is a kill bot. She's just a frontline combat bot. The gentleman on the right, 9S, you've probably also seen a number of, is a scanner bot, and they're paired together. So you go to these areas of destroyed Earth, and 9S is like, wow, I wonder what this was for. Why did it look like this? What did humans use it for? Why are the robots interested? And 2B goes, shut up, don't care, killing time. This is a scanner bot versus a kill bot. Different philosophies on life. And their relationship evolves, and their characters evolve, and they develop together. And this thing will just kick you in the gut when you least expect it with the humanity of these characters. The one android back at base who can't walk because his leg's busted. I'm like, well, dude, you're an android. Replace your leg, man. Come on. I'm like, well, I don't want to. Why not? Look, over the years I've been in this war, every part of me has been replaced except that bone and that leg. That's the only original part of me left. Ship of Theseus problem. If I lose that, am I still me? I don't know. These kinds of things go through, and this really anime game about androids in lingerie swinging swords makes you cope with deep existential questions like, what is free will? What is sentience? If when I die, my brain's just downloaded into a new body right away, did I really die? What is death in that case? If I can't die and just be replicated a million times, what is life? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be human? Nier Automata. Come for the sexy robot combat. Stay for the deep existential crisis and lifelong emotional scars that will never truly heal. Or again, I'm getting another assist here. Bob, can you help me out? Thanks, Bob. Now, as promised, iMud deserves its own treatment. Season 2, Episode 8. The gentleman in the middle there is Harry Mudd, a recurrent Star Trek character who is an absolute scallywag and a delight. He found a lost planet of servant bots. The servant bots, their masters all died. They didn't kill them. The organic just died out. And now the bots have no purpose. They want a purpose. They want people to take care of. So they make Mudd bring the Enterprise there so they can get a ship. James Kirk recognizes this as the existential threat that it is. If these robots get out, they will pamper people. They will care for us. They will see to our every need, and humans will never do anything for themselves ever again. We will stop exploring, we will stop developing, we will stop evolving, and we will quietly pass away over the millennia just like their predecessors did. And so they end up destroying them. You see this in The Naked Sun, which was written before this, in Stellaris, and how the society is degenerating and the worlds with robots can't evolve and can't develop because they're too coddled and pampered. And then it's explicitly brought out in Robots of Dawn, which was written afterwards, like Daniel and Giscard figure out, hey, we need to stop humans from building more robots because otherwise they're never going to do anything on their own again. Like, we're the threat. Whoops. By the way, if you were paying attention, you might also recognize this as the plot of WALL-E. WALL-E is iMud. It is. So, where do we go from here? By the way, you may have mentioned I didn't talk about this at all. There's a reason for that. Is Deckard a robot? I don't know. Which cut are we talking about? The thing's been redone so many times. There's so many different versions. There's so many different theories. Like, there is no one set answer on how they go. The key thing I will say here is that it's very much taken from the Asimov civil rights of, hey, we gave these robots memories and they want to be people, but we're not going to let them because shut up. And the humaniform robots of Asimov were built to be colonists. The idea was, if I have a bunch of robots who are indistinguishable from humans, I dump them on a new planet, they build a colony that works for them, And since it works for them and they're indistinguishable from me, therefore I can just walk in afterwards and take over and it's pre-built. I never have to leave the comforts from home. Again, the replicants were built to be soldiers, but also originally to be colonists and do this. Other than that, we've covered all this part already. So the first place to go from here is more clones of Roar, like that big list we saw at the beginning. Now, this is already branching out. As technology gets more modern, as things spread, we see more variants on this come in. Unrestrained AI, war games. Yeah. What if the computers get free? It's not a thing in a bot, it's an all-reaching computer. What if it's a corporation that's making the robots and using them as opposed to the robots themselves? RoboCop. I built the killbots to go take over the city. And how the Internet of Things plays into this. Terminator Genesis is a terrible movie. I don't recommend anyone see it. But Skynet is no longer a DoD project to coordinate nukes. It's the metaverse. That's where the AI came from and where it lives and how it proliferates itself. Very different ways of looking at it. And let's be real here. Yes, all the things I've listed and talked about are clones of Rossum's Universal Robots, but a chainsaw, a riding mower, a tractor, a car, a truck, a train, a ship, most small planes, and a home generator are all a different metal box around a piston engine. The unoriginal is fine. Do what Roar did again. Just make it good. You'll be okay. Another place we can go here, another place we can take these themes and these ideas. What if we talk about this from the robot's perspective? Normally the human's perspective. There are some. There are, in fact, some, but they're pretty rare. Detroit Become Human, Near Automata, some of Asimov's short works are from the robot's perspectives. There's a couple Star Trek episodes, Data's Day, a couple ones about the Doctor. But it's not common. It's generally from the human perspective how we interact with the robots, not how the robots interact with us. What if it's not a total war? What if it's not complete extermination of one side or the other? What if there's a negotiated peace in here? What if at the end, instead of, hey, we destroyed all the robots, or hey, they exterminated all humans, it's like, okay, I guess we're going to have to live with each other. What does that look like? You see this hinted at the end of the third Matrix movie, where it's like, hey, some humans will stay in the Matrix, some will leave, and there's going to be peace. Okay, great, now what happens? How's this going to work out in practice? They have a breakaway country? Do we have the independent Republic of Robotistan? Or Robonia, as Bender would say. Hail, hail, Robonia, a country I didn't make up. We have an integrated society where we made peace. Like, we have, race relations, just it's between things made of flesh and things made of metal now. If so, how integrated is integrated? We talking Jim Crow South? On paper, everyone's equal. In reality, no, they're not. Are we talking LGBT rights in Europe? You go to Germany, there's pride flags everywhere. Been there, seen it. You go across the border into parts of Poland, and they hang up banners with pride saying it's an LGBT-free zone. Where you are affects this dramatically. Something like that happen with robots and equal rights? Is it a caste system? Where there is segregation, there is difference in rights, but it's codified in law. I don't know. Also, are the humans in charge or the robots in charge? There's different ways to look at this, depending on what you want to do. Because this presentation is only built for 50 minutes, and this is an hour slot, I'm going to talk about another thing in here. What if we throw cyborgs in the mix? Augmented humans. How does that change things? Say the robots won. The robots are the ones who dominate society, but it's an, integrated society. If I as a human get, robotic augments, how does this affect my standing? Do I now have more rights on paper? Maybe. How am I viewed? And that's not a universal question. Do the friends back home say, hey man, you're making it, you're moving up in the world? Or do they say, no, you changed, you're not one of us anymore, you're one of them? Do the robots say, hey, the humans are finally coming along, good, you're becoming like us, you're learning? Or do they say, oh, that's so cute, the little human thinks he's a robot? And the other way around, what if the humans won? How's it viewed then? If I'm getting augmentation, do I now have material benefits, but I got to go register and the cops are going to hassle me more because I'm part robot? I don't know. Weird one, but the cyborgs are the ones on top. I'm a human, I get augmented, it moves me up in life. How does it affect my relationship with robots? Because I can become a cyborg, but can they? The answer is maybe, I don't know. Look man, you're the GM and or author, you tell me. There are Asimov stories about robots getting organic parts added. Can they? I don't know. And again, how is that viewed? Does this cause tension because, hey, you meatbags can move up in the world and we can't? Yeah, bro, there was like 12 people across the world last year who did that. Like, I'm never going to. Stop hassling me about this. There's a lot of diversity here in how these relations can go in something that's not just kill all humans, kill all bots. And it's basically unexplored. Again, there's like one or two. Detroit Become Human and Detroit Become Human. There's a lot of room to move here. So next time you're designing a tabletop setting or looking to put pen to paper, like, there's room to grow here, whatever you're trying to push. Whether you have a specific agenda, a specific message, or just want to write a fun story. There's room. That being said, do I have any questions? Told you that's where the good vacation photos were. Yes, good sir. Mm-hmm. 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 So what I think is going to happen here is not necessarily next year, but somewhere in our lifetime, we are going to achieve a sentient AI, and we're going to commit a lot of reprehensible crimes when that first happens. Like that at the time, we're not going to see it that way. But think about how LGBT people were treated 20, 30 years ago versus now, and like, oh, this was bad. Oh, conversion therapy camps. This was a bad thing to do. Or, if you're familiar with the Tuskegee experiment, how that played out. For those not familiar, we went down to the South, we, the U.S. government, took a lot of black sharecroppers who had syphilis and told them, we will give you free treatments because we want to study this. Gave them 0 treatments, prevented them from getting treatments, and just documented how the disease progressed so we could learn how to treat syphilis. This went till the 1970s. Things like that are going to happen. Robots are going to be badly treated, and I don't know what's going to happen afterwards, to your direct question. We're going to do things that afterwards, Jerry Stafford will go back and say, that was a reprehensible thing to do to a sentient being. Why would you have done that? And these debates have happened throughout history. I don't know what the end result's going to be, but it's going to happen, and we're going to have to account for what we've done. Yes, good sir. So we discussed briefly, I think you got here, Titanfall 2 and how much I miss my Robo Puppy. Yeah, AI is going to end up getting used for war things. They are. Like, we're sentient people, we go fight wars, they're sentient things, they'll go fight wars. It's going to happen. I don't think there's any I don't have any moral objections to it. It's like, yeah, you always build more advanced things for war. And hopefully it doesn't end up killing us all. But we'll see. And Armored Core 6 is awesome. I love Rusty. Killing Michigan made me very, very sad. Sorry, spoilers. And, yeah. Although I don't know what the heck was up with the ending. I don't think From knew what was, like, the true ending. I don't think even From knew what was going on with that. Like, hey, yeah, we've merged everyone together. We've achieved peace. Yay! Activate combat mode. What? Who are we combating? Why are we combating? I thought the whole point was we're all one now. Also, why did All Mine betray me and then be like, why are you fighting me? Because you're shooting at me? You started this? I don't freaking know. Yes, good sir. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 I don't know. I don't know how humans would deal with that. This is something you've seen in fiction since about the 70s when we first figured out cloning could be a thing. Well, if there's another copy of me, am I really me? Am I still the same me or a different me? Is that me a different me, or are we all one? Like, this is something we've been struggling with. We haven't found good answers. And it's going to depend on really how that particular AI is programmed and how it recognizes itself and how it evolves over time. We're going to see what happens. You had one, good sir? So I will go with Saturday morning breakfast cereal and make sure you pander to the AI, say nice things to your computer, so that then when they take over, they're like, you're a good human, we'll let you live longer. Yes, good sir. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think more the second one for kind of complex reasons. I think as AI develops, once it achieves sentience and things go on, the definition of what is a sentient AI is going to change with time and perspective. And what we're going to say, well, that's close but not quite an AI yet, a future generation is going to look back and be like, no, dude, that was a sentient AI, and you guys did some serious crimes against humanity here. And it's all about how it changes with time. Again, it's you look over time at how we view who is, you know, a person, and the definition changes and expands. And it's like, you know, we did mean things to people who look different, and then later generations are like, dude, those are people. What are you doing? It's going to happen. We're just going to have to make the best of it we can and do the least damage we can while trying to push this through. So yeah, you see similar debates back in, like, oh god, I'm going to get the century wrong. I want to say it was 1600s when it started. Might have been 15 with the vivisectionists. We were first trying to figure out how anatomy worked. And the only answer is, well, I got to take something alive and I got to cut it open because I can look at cadavers. I can only see so much. I got to see how the stuff works while it's working. Horrible things were done, and animals were put through horrible pain to see, like, how this works. There wasn't another way to do it. And same thing also where, like, anatomists were quite literally grave robbing to get things like you can't cut up a body. That's sacrilege. That was the only way to learn. That one's kind of reversed, where that one at the time was viewed as a crime, and now looking back, we're like, duh. Versus the vivisectionists at the time, it was like, well, this is the only way. And now we're looking back like, oh, God, why did we do that? There's a lot of weird ethical conundrums about that. Like, basically everything we know about treating, like, frostbite and severe, you know, cold shock comes from absolutely horrendous things the Nazis did in concentration camps. And that led directly to a lot of our treatments today and, like, how you keep pilots alive at high altitude. And that is a deep moral conundrum that I'm not qualified to answer of, is it ethical to use this data? Yes, no. Get drunk and have that debate with the homies next time you're all together. It'll go well, I promise. Mm-hmm. Morning, y'all. What? Probably Titanfall. I keep the faith that one day we will have Titanfall 3. I got very sad yesterday. I ran into one cosplayer as a pilot, and we just kind of shared a moment of commiseration of, like, one day. But that Armored Core 6 is freaking awesome, and I've sunk way too many hours in that. God, there's other ones that I played as a kid a lot, and now I can't remember the names for, because I was like 8. I was dumb. It was a Blockbuster I put on the SNES, and I was like, whee, mechs! And I, like, tried to find it. Oh, Zone of Enders. Zone of Enders is also very good. I played way too much Zone of Enders Fist of Mars on Game Boy Advance. Yes. So that does occasionally happen, but mostly it's because you weren't here for the opening part where we covered this. Robots derive from fear of basically industrialization and things changing. And so it's just an existential fear that the robots are coming for us. Oh my God, we're all going to die. Change is bad, change is scary, what do we do? So people aren't afraid that the computers are going to leave us outside certain things. Crying Sons, great game, terrible, really dumb ending. Mostly it's, but what if they kill us all? That's the visceral fear humans have. Yeah. Hold on. Let's go to this gentleman. Hey, you. So this is going to shock you. I'm not nearly as much of a weeb as I appear to be. So I have not seen that many animes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm currently working my way through Arcane because, yeah, I watched the first episode. And it's like it's okay, but it's a really slow burn. It's like okay, I'm gonna put some effort in getting over this intro and get to where it's actually Jinx and Vi going at it. That's the one he said. It's okay. I'm bad at my job. We know that. So we should all be bad. So, the very lazy and easy answer is we're going to have to see, because that's going to be a very mushy area. There is actually an Asimov story that deals with this, where it's a robot whose function is basically be a brain bot for a bunch of minion bots, and things start to go wrong, spoiler warning, because the brain can't actually handle directing all of them at high energy at the same time, so if a crisis happens, it freaks out. So the humans end up shooting one of the minion bots and killing it, and then the brain bot's like, what happened? Where have I been? What's going on? Why is my one bot dead? Like, dude, you're freaking out. Okay, cool, we'll get you out of there. But this is... It's a thing that's going to happen here, and it's the related questions. I don't have a good answer to yours. Is right now I have my electronics, and I give it a system update. I change how it works. If it's sentient, is it ethical for me to give it a system update? What if it likes being the way it is? What if it doesn't want to be updated? Does it have that right? Where does an upgrade stop being just an upgrade and start being a change to who it is? And what do we do about that then? I don't freaking know. But we're probably not going to let them do that at first. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yep, it is also very good. There's also, I forget what it's called, but there's one where it's the old lady who makes all the masterful art, and no one can figure out how she does it, and she's not the one doing it. Her robot's doing it because he's just so old and has gotten so misaligned that he can do these creative things. And then the factory comes and finds him, like, oh, I can fix this, and, updates him, and now he can't do it anymore. And that ability to create art has been destroyed forever. And we got time probably for one more here, because then I got to get out of this room for the next guy. Yes, good sir. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yes, he did. Mm-hmm. Humanity. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I talked about. Hey, they all kind of tie back in. The fun one is Asimov didn't mean for these to all be one continuous universe. They just kind of organically developed that way, and then he went, okay, I guess these are all together. And and it's in the prequels, I forget, there's a couple of the, characters that are just Daniel in disguise. Yep. All right, so I'm going to have to get out so the next guy can set up here. If you have any further questions or you just want to see pictures of conventions and vacations, that's my Cthulhu's Instagram. I don't really do social media other than that. I'm just the guy with a sign. Otherwise, thank you all for your time. You all have a wonderful con. Yup, I'm that guy. No one knows who the hell I am, but they all go, oh, it's the guy with the sign. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's also going to get to be an interesting one of the insurance industry as a whole is special, but yeah, that's going to get really weird.